Hi, good evening. Welcome to this Insta Live session with me. You are welcome. So please do yourself a favor by staying till the end of this session. Hello. Hi. Please let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. I see you all. Welcome everyone. Please let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. Today is a good day and it's a beautiful night to talk about this topic. Hi, let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. Apologies. I'm waiting for your feedback so that I can run. Fantastic. Awesome. So, tonight, we're talking about how to avoid the roommate marriage. Have you ever heard of roommate marriage before? Let me know. I want this session to be very, very interactive. I want it to feel like it's just you and I in the room, okay? Have you ever heard of the roommate marriage before? So today I had 3 sessions, right? And there was something really consistent about all of the 3 sessions. And I'm like, no, I need to come on live and talk about this. Oh, wow, you and your hobby were once there. Wow, I'm so glad you are out of that phase. Fantastic, good to know. Now, if you're new to me, I am MrzSparkles, and on this platform, I'm either talking to the single ladies about how to date intelligently, or I'm talking about the newlyweds, the young wives, on how to navigate the early years of their marriage so that they can stay happily married. It's no news that we have a lot of people who are married but not happy. Okay, and over the years, I have come to realize, both from personal experience, from education, and then working with my clients, that there are things that you can do to stay happily married. So I'm just going to share a very brief gist with us. So like I said, I had 3 sessions today, and I noticed that there was something really consistent, which was why I said I'm going to have this session. But beyond that, I had a very good news today. Now, for some people, it may feel like it's nothing. I may feel like, not today. But because I understand how marriages work, this for me is a very good news. So for those of you that do not know, I recently launched my ebook, 52 Irresistible Ways to a Happier Marriage. And this young wife actually bought the book and she came back to me with a testimonial today. And she said she started the act for week 1. Now, the first week was simple. Just ensure that you and your hubby share a good morning kiss, good night kiss. I think that was it. But she's been doing that for past 4 days or so. And then she kept doing it every day. And she didn't even think that the husband noticed anything. But because he pissed her off yesterday, she decided not to do it today. And guess what? Because the husband pissed her off, she decided that, today I'm not hugging, I'm not kissing, just go your own, I did my own. But just before the husband was about to step out, so obviously they were fighting, he came to her and then kissed her and said, "You've been doing this to me every day." And then he kissed her and then he left. And she was amazed. I'm going to share her message with us on the group. And I asked her why, and she said it was a confirmation to her that her husband is committed to their marriage. And I asked her, "Are you still upset?" She said no, that everything just disappeared, like she's not upset anymore. And for me, that just shows how, say what you man, that just shows how intentional. When I first got married, I used to look for opportunities, like when we have a disagreement, in my mind I'm like, I'm a very simple woman, like just do this or this, and I've forgiven you and we've moved on. But you know that if that husband did not do that simple thing, that quarrel or that fight could stay for 1 week. And you know how the human mind can be, whereby things just begin to escalate and escalate and escalate, while she's wondering, why is this man acting like this, even though I've been doing XYZ in the last couple of days, he didn't even notice, and then he's not, and then the guy too is thinking, why is this like that? Why? And then 4 or 5 days, husband and wife are just rolling admin duties in the house, and that's it. No connection, nothing. And many couples forget that once you are in disagreement, once you are not on the same page with your spouse, you have indirectly opened your home to the enemy. And that's what the devil wants. But people don't go. People don't know. Right? So for me, that was like, it was just amazing reading that, because just one simple act has just turned things around. So I'm going to share briefly with us on roommate marriage. And the first question is, how do you know that you are in a roommate marriage? If you have people who are going to benefit from this session, I advise you to invite them now, because you know how Instagram is. We cannot really be sure that this session will still to the end. So if you have people that need to be here, you want to invite them. Even your spouses, you want to invite them. So how do you know that you are in a roommate marriage? It's hard to be sweet when you are upset with your spouse. Fantastic. But it's easier when there is a soft landing. I always tell people, the fact that you and your spouse are in disagreement does not mean that you should not be in talking terms. That simple act of kissing the wife can open up a conversation, and they begin to share, how they really feel in a very calm and cool manner without fighting. So, how do you know that you are in a roommate marriage? I'll just share some traits so that you can just begin to check within yourself if this is where you are. Okay. The first one is your marriage begins to run like a business relationship, right? Your marriage begins to run like a business relationship. All you talk about is the kids, or their schoolwork, or their the responsibilities or the home place that they've given to them, the assignment they give to them in school, how their uniforms need to be ironed, or all you're talking about is running of the home, the to-do list. You need to wash the clothes, you need to pack the clothes, you need to press the clothes. Nothing else. Or the schedules that you need to meet, going to market, buying stuff, feeding, and that's it. Nothing personal. When your marriage begins to run like it's an office, just admin conversations. Are you doing this? Yes. Did you bring this? No. Where is this? Here. And that's it. That can be a sign that your marriage is already a roommate marriage. Okay. Another sign is you are mostly stressed and so exhausted. You have very little energy to bring into your marriage. For those of you that live in Lagos and have to go in and out, every day to work, you can imagine the level of stress that, you face. A lot of people find themselves in that situation whereby they are busy going about their genuine business, but they come home really tired, so exhausted, and there is almost nothing, no energy, nothing to invest in the marriage. For some people, they're not even able to take calls or chats during, office time or break hours. So there's really no connection during the day. So they go out in the morning, they barely even connect in the morning because they're just in a hurry to beat the traffic. Step out, come back in the evening, they are tired, they're exhausted, just thinking, okay, how can I cook dinner, how can we eat, and how can I just sleep because I'm tired? And then before you know it, this same act is repeated over and over and over again. Okay, if you find that this is your routine, then chances are you are already tilting towards that, or you are probably already there. Another sign is you prioritize everything else above your marriage. You prioritize your work, prioritize everything else above your marriage. So your work, your children, everything else, right? Church activities, business meetings, social media, participation, all of that becomes priority over your marriage. And then before you know it, you're like strangers. Another sign is you and your spouse are living separate lives. So you have your own goals, you have your own dreams, you have your own plans, and then another person has his own dreams, his own plans. And for sometimes you're even hearing about the plans of your spouse on social media, probably on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, and you're wondering, why am I not aware? Right? Now, I absolutely understand that some persons are in that bondage, but how do people get to that point? That's why we are here. Okay, that's why we are here, because I have realized that so many people are unknowingly getting deeper into this roommate marriage, and we need to break it. We need to stop it. Okay, so stay with me to the end. That's where I'm headed at. Right. Another sign is that you don't have any marital vision or family vision. You cannot sit down and say this is where you and your husband or you and your family are headed to. Right? You cannot categorically say in the next 1 year, in the next 2 years, me and my husband, me and my wife are going to be here or here or here. You don't even know what the dreams of your spouse are in the next 6 months, in the next 1 year. You have no idea. You're just living as two strangers but under the same roof. Okay? And then there are a lot of them, but I can't begin to list all of them. Another sign is you are avoiding conflict. So with this whole conflict gist, I was telling one of my clients that there are two ways to look at it. The first one is if you are avoiding conflict because you want to extend grace to your spouse, then that's fine. Perhaps you understand your husband, you understand your wife so well, and then they've done something and you feel like, I'm not going to talk about this. Let me just sweep it under the carpet and move on. Let me just make an excuse for them because I understand that this is an area of weakness. We've talked about it 2 weeks ago. We've talked about it last week. And then they've promised that they are working on it. So I don't want to stress them. Just sweep this one and ignore it. That's okay. There's another part where you are avoiding the conversation because you know that when it happens, it's going to be heated. So something happens and then instead of you to talk about it, you push it under the carpet. Introverts, a lot of times, especially the phlegmatics, they don't like confrontation. So anything that is going to cause arguments and then front and back, they don't want it. What you need to know is that conflict is not always negative. Conflict can be very good for your marriage depending on how you approach it. Because we are totally different beings and nobody says we must think alike in marriage. That's a whole conversation on its own. But if you're sweeping things under the carpet because you don't want to talk about it, you don't want to fight, you don't want to agree to disagree, then that's a danger sign for you, right? And then another one is zero fun, zero laughter, zero vulnerability. You're just living as like two individuals, more like even neighbors. There's no laughter, there's no joy, there's nothing, and all that. So these are signs that you have a roommate marriage. Now, how do people get here? It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual process. Yes. When you keep making excuses every day, oh, my spouse should understand. Because for a lot of people, see, finish has entered the picture. Oh, she's not going anywhere now. He's not going anywhere. We are married. We're in this. So you just consistently ignore, consistently refuse to prioritize the needs of your spouse and refuse to address issues that come up. A lot of times, the tough conversations are the ones that people ignore. Things that have to do with sex, things that have to do with finance, things that have to do with in-law. They push it aside and they just feel like, oh, they are going to be fine. No, you're not going to be fine because guess what? It's going to keep coming up over and over again. So how do you avoid this kind of marriage? The secret is being intentional with your marriage. Being intentional with your marriage. I'm sure you may have heard this before, but a lot of people ignore it. They're like, I beg, we'll be fine. Last, we'll be fine. My husband is not ready. My wife is not ready. Is it only me? Am I the only one going to be doing? So they just become nonchalant. And then, like worried people will say, anywhere they left face. And then you just keep going and going without any plan, nothing. Now, earlier today, I had so I have a WhatsApp community of married young wives, and then I asked them, how many of you have a plan for your marriage this week? How many of you have an idea of something beautiful you're going to do for your spouse this week? And if 15 people responded, 14 of them said they did not have any plan. But we have plans for our businesses. We have plans for our career. We have plans to probably run the house. We have plans to cook meals. But our marriage, we put it at the back bench. Why? It is because of a certain mindset. There is a mindset that sponsors actions like this. Okay? And for as long as you hold on to those wrong beliefs, those myths about marriage, you are unable to properly position yourself well to carry on a long-lasting marriage. And I'll just touch on a few of them, maybe 3 of them or 4, right? Because I've noticed that we are unconsciously repeating this act over and over again. It sponsors how we think. It sponsors how we make our decisions. And then before you know it, somebody that was very excited, very happy that finally this man I was praying for 5 years, this husband I was praying for 5 years, and then you're happy, excited, now becomes a stranger. And then the person has evolved year 1, year 2, year 3, but because you're not involved, you don't know what's going on, you wake up one morning and then you're a stranger. So what is this? What are these mindsets, right? I'll talk about three, let me say 3 myths in marriage, or 3 wrong mindsets that people hold on to that sponsors this kind of nonchalant attitude towards marriage that ends up leading to roommates in marriage. Okay, the first one is when you think that marriage is about receiving. A lot of singles tell me, oh, I want to relax and be taken care of. I just want to chill. People think that marriage is a place where, for example, some men think marriage is a place where you come into and then all your domestic, responsibilities are sorted. You've got a wife that's going to cook for you, that's going to clean for you, and that's it. I always tell single ladies, be watchful, because a lot of these men don't want a wife. They don't have any plan to groom you. They just want to use you, to cook for them, to clean for them, to have sex with them, and that's it. So coming into marriage with the mindset that you're going to be receiving is deceiving. And that is why you are very quick to judge when your husband or your wife is not doing XYZ for you. Why? Because you have high expectations of them. The truth is that marriage is about service. This will shock you, it will annoy you, but if you can accept it as the truth, it will help you. It will help you make wiser decisions, right? It will help you make wiser decisions. It will help you think deeply before you respond. It would help you to pick your battles. Marriage is not about receiving. It's a place where you serve and serve and serve. It's about giving, right? Check our relationship with God. Before we even gave our life to Christ, He had given up His life. And what relationship are we trying to, represent as Christians? It's the relationship between Christ and the church. So marriage is about giving. It's about giving your time. It's about giving yourself. It's about sacrificing for your partner. It's about giving your body. Yes. So even when you're coming home and then you're so tired, when you remember that this body is not really, really just mine, even though I'm tired, there's a way you're going to communicate with your spouse to let them know that, oh, okay, babe, I'm tired, or like, can I just rest a little, or can you just do this? Or it will help you to reposition your mind even before you get home, because you know that even though you've been stressed all through the day, you also have reserved some energy for when you get back home. Are we together? Is this making any bit of sense? Please let me know in the chat. Give me some love. Let me know that this is helping. Right? There are some areas in my marriage where I am the one that is doing the most. And some people come to me to say, oh, my husband is not doing this. I'm the one always initiating. If you have identified an area in your marriage where you can see that there is a challenge or there is something that needs to be fixed, thank God that you could even spot it. Because in marriage, there are areas where your spouse is stronger than you. There are areas where your spouse is giving much more than you are. You might be the one that is always initiating sex. Your spouse might be the one that is always initiating conflict resolution. So you cannot be looking for 50-50 all the time. That's why it's called marriage. The cleaving, the coming together. Bring your strength, I bring my strength, and then we merge it together. Your husband may be very, very good in certain areas and he's weak in other areas. You cannot begin to say you will focus on those areas that he's very weak, forgetting that you yourself, you're not perfect. Right? So the attention should be on what can I give how can I make I sent an email so every week I send love letters to my tribe. If you're not subscribed, you need to, because I share a lot of personal stuff there that are really helpful and practical, right? So I shared something with them and I gave them an assignment today. I said, ask your spouse one thing this way. Just say, what can I do for you? How can I help you? Just that simple statement can go a long way in drawing you closer to each other. What can I do for you? How can I help you? Okay, so it's not 50-50. It's not what can I get. It's about complementing each other in marriage. Once you have this mindset, it helps you to make wiser decisions. It helps you to choose your battles better. Okay, the second myth or the second mindset that we hold on to that makes it easy for us to draw closer to having this whole roommate marriage thing is when you think that love is a feeling. So I don't feel like it. I don't feel like that. I don't feel like it. Love is a choice. It's an action. It's not a feeling. Because a lot of times you will not always feel like it. A lot of times you're probably tired and you will not always feel like going the extra mile. You will not feel like sacrificing. Right? There are some times that I've had a really busy day. Probably I was in the house all day and I've had a really busy day. There is a certain way I like the house to look when my husband comes in. I can decide to just leave it anyhow and nothing will happen. Right? The probably girl might understand that I was busy and I couldn't do stuff. But there is a part of me that doesn't want to just take that understanding for granted. Some of you, because your husband has been very understanding, you are now taking it so much for granted. And one of the areas that women really fall in this aspect is sex. You say, oh, I'm tired. Oh, I was busy with the children. Oh, my body is not doing me. It's not about how you feel. You got to get your body in the mood. You got to bring yourself to that place where you take action because you understand that it's not just about you. Some of you, there are conversations about your finances that you feel like you should not discuss with your spouse because they will judge you. But you remember that both of you are accountable to each other. So either ways, you have to bring yourself to have that conversation. Right? You have to be vulnerable. You have to, whether you like it or not, you have to have that conversation. It is not, marriage is not convenient. It's not. Yes, I know that we see a lot of beautiful pictures, videos, marriage going. Yes, it is beautiful, but it's not always that way. It's not always that way. We are all on a journey, and then the road is not always just straight. But guess what? As you go in, as you invest and overcome certain difficult stages, you would be happier with the kind of marriage that you eventually have after that kind of issue. So when you overcome challenges, when you overcome struggles, especially with your spouse, when you guys have overcome and come out stronger and better, you'll be happier that, oh yes, finally. And that's why I tell people, conflict is not always negative. A lot of times, when you see conflict as an opportunity to understand your spouse better, you yield better results. But every time you disagree, you're always just sparking. You're everywhere. Me, I can't take it all. Me, I can't. Calm down. Like I always say, why is your spouse thinking that way? Why is your spouse thinking that way? So it is not always convenient. You have to go an extra mile. Let me give a personal example so that you understand what I'm saying. So on Sunday, most times on Sunday when we get back from church, we have two boys and then they sleep on the way home. One is 4 years old, one is 7 years old. My husband will usually carry the 4 years old up and I will wake up the 7-year-old and hold him down because I ain't got no energy to be carrying a 7-year-old up the stairs. Like, right? I can't. So, when we came this Sunday, both of them were sleeping and my husband said, babe, who will you carry? I'm like, me, I can't carry anybody. I don't even have that energy. Like me, I'm just up for always soft life and easy journey. And he's like, if you wake our 7-year-old up, he's not going to sleep again. Immediately he said that. Somewhere in me wanted to just keep going back and forth with the conversation. I wake him now, let him just stay there. Like, what's my own? After all these children, you still force them to sleep anyway. But something in me just said, say okay. And I now said okay. See, and I know that was the Holy Spirit. and which will make me say this before I go ahead. You cannot decide to do marriage only by your flesh. You cannot decide to do marriage only by your flesh, because marriage is as physical as much as it is spiritual. There is a place that you can give the Holy Spirit, and He'll be giving you sweet expo. Sweet expo, that before stuff happens, He will just help you. When you want to go like this, He will help you. But it takes your obedient heart to yield and to be sensitive and to understand that the Spirit is trying to tell you to do this. Sometimes you will not understand. Yes, a lot of times you might not understand. Some of us, we always want to understand everything. Why? Where's the place of trust? Right? So I said, okay, no problem. I haven't carried my son up the staircase for in a very long time. And then he went up the stairs the first time. And it was going to be selfish of me to say I will sit in the car and allow him go the stairs 3 times. No. So he went up the stairs, dropped our bags and everything, and then came down and encouraged the 7-year-old, and then he went. So I had to also take him upstairs. And then I carried the 4-year-old, brought him, and then both of them slept. So they didn't wake up. Normally they would wake up. And then we got to the room, and I said, my husband asked him, are you hungry? He said, no, he wants to sleep. Normally Sunday afternoon is for sleep. And then he slept. I got my lunch and I was just eating. And then 1 hour later, after we've gotten up and I was done eating, the Holy Spirit now said to me, can you see how everywhere is peaceful? Can you see how everywhere is quiet? If you had woken that boy up, your husband would not be able to sleep, because those children, they can disturb. They will jump on my husband's head, they play and everything. And I just felt grateful, because I was happy that he was able to rest. I felt good that I submitted to the opinion, to the proposal of not waking them up. And then they slept for 3 hours, and he was able to have a good sleep. And I think a few minutes after this thought, I also was able to sleep for some 4 or 5 hours during the day. And then we just woke up energized. It may mean nothing to anybody, but for me, I just feel good that small thing, I just yielded. Because a part of me was like, Carrie, no, for what? He's 7, he should walk, he should climb. Little decisions. Marriage is not about big things that we do. It's the little things that we do that adds up. Okay? So it's not always convenient. That's what led me to that story. It's not always convenient. When your spouse is not meeting up to expectation in a way that you expect them to, it's not a time for you to give up. It's not a time for you to bring down heaven. Yes, now Sunday sleep is a banger. You see? So it's not a time where your spouse is not... Somebody was telling me today that, our husband did not do this and do that, so she did this and did that. I said, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't... Your husband or your wife must not always think like you. In fact, if you always think the same way, then there's problem. Because your upbringing, your background, everything is different. So love is not a feeling. It's a choice that you have to make. So the question is, do you know when you have to make that decision to act in love? Because it's not about how I feel. The third thing, the third myth, the third reason why, the third mindset that some people hold on to that makes them act the way they do, really nonchalant about their marriage, is people just think that they can walk out at any time. Say, if you don't walk, I go, they go now. No. Marriage is not a supermarket. It's not a vacation spot. You don't just stroll in and stroll out. It's a covenant. It's deep. You can't just say, you come in and you see that things they're not working the way you want, and then you stroll out. No. It's beyond you. It's beyond how you feel or what you really want. There are people's lives involved when you decide that you're going to get married. So you can't just wake up one day and say you're not doing again. Or you can't just wake up one day and say anyhow it be. Because a lot of Christians to find themselves in this place whereby the marriage is not working, but they're in that marriage because the Bible says do not divorce. So they're just there. They're not doing anything about it. They're not seeking help. And they just believe that everything is fine. You're damaging yourself, damaging your children. Because your home is the first place that your kids would watch and read and understand what marriage is about. And from my sessions that I've had every week, I'm meeting with women here and there. And I have realized that a lot of the issues arises from our past experience. the trauma that we're yet to heal from, the things that we observed in our parents' marriage, yes, it affects one way or the other. 90% of my clients have been able to trace the issues that they are facing back to how they grew up, back to their childhood. So you want to be careful how you run your marriage. You want to take away that mindset of, I can walk out anytime. Marriage is to be built. It's not something ready-made. That whole excitement, that feeling that you came in with, it's not going to be there. You have to move from all that stuff to being intentional about it, to putting systems in place that are going to work for you, to put structures in place that are going to help you. So when I asked the ladies in my community and they kept saying no, I'm like, hey, and I'm not saying do anything big. That's why I wrote down my book. If you've not gotten it, you need to get it. Because what I just shared there was simple things that you can do to just keep the bond, keep the spark. If you can be intentional with your marriage, if you don't have that mindset that, oh, I'm the one that is doing my spouse a favor, I'm helping him now, if not for me, no. That's pride. That's pride. You must consistently feel blessed that God gave you this one that you have. It's a blessing. Because no matter how bad things are, it's because of God that things are no worse off. Yes. So that mindset of, when I'm tired, I can walk out now, or I'll just be there, nothing, we'll just be living like roommates. It's wrong. Some people get carried away with the certificates that they're given when they go married. Maybe if marriage was designed like a school whereby you have to take exams and then you have to write and pass before you graduate, maybe people will be more serious. But let me tell you something. For every time you navigate a season of your marriage, you have crossed into another depth of intimacy with your spouse. For every time you're able to overcome one phase, people get married and then they experience all sorts, things that they never thought they would experience. Some people go through delayed pregnancy. Some people go through ill health, some form of major illness that they never expected they will have or their spouse will have. Some people begin to experience challenges with their finances. Some people just experience spiritual attack. There are different things that we face. The fact that once you and your husband together, once you and your wife together are able to hold yourself and cross a season of marriage into the next one, you have committed to the next class. Right? So you must build your marriage with commitment, with love, with forgiveness, with trust, with prayer, all of it, putting everything together. You must be that intentional. So it is every day I wake up, what am I doing today? What can I do? Even if it's as simple as sending them a nice message or surprising them by the door when they come. Anything. But you must be conscious about it, because if you're not, the spark is going to die. Somebody, I had a client once, and then she's been married for like 5 years, and by the time I was having this part of my sessions, because this is part of my 7 weeks coaching program that I have with my clients, and she was like, how I wish I knew this when I got married. How I wish I knew this over 5 years ago. But I realized something. You see, when people take premarital classes, they're not serious. Why? They've not experienced this thing. It's when you have gone through small issue, you will be more serious. So for some people, they will rather want to experience pain before they now take their spouse seriously. Right? So you walk gradually, right? So that's your commitment, that you're forgiving, are exams that you are taking and you're passing. You assess yourself, and then before you know it, your marriage moves into a different level of connection, a different level of bond. And then in marriage, you repeat and repeat and repeat. There's no working out. I'm not talking about an abusive situation. That's different. Right? There's no working out. So you must have that kind of mindset. And with that mindset, you now begin to look at your spouse, and then there's nothing like see finish. You now begin to look at your spouse with an eye of appreciation. Every day you wake up, you are grateful that you have your spouse by your side. Even if you had a disagreement yesterday, you're seeing today as a new day. And then you're looking forward to how you can resolve the issues and then move on. Okay? If you are complaining about how many times you forgive your spouse, how many times you ask God for forgiveness? right? I feel like marriage is just a test of our Christian walk. It's just a test of our Christian walk. Okay, so there are 4 ways I feel like you can be intentional. I don't want to go deep on those mindsets and myths in marriage, because there are a lot. But I wanted to just touch on those 3. Now let me touch on 4 ways that you can be intentional with your marriage. Are we together? Is this making any bit of sense? Let me know. Okay. Welcome everyone. Those that are just joining, thank you for joining me. If this is making a bit of sense, you want to share it, you want to invite your friends, okay? There are 4 ways that you should be intentional with your marriage. The first one is to connect daily. You must look for ways that you are connecting with your spouse every day, as much as it lies within your power, right? Physically, verbally, you must be interested in what's going on in their lives. When your spouse, when you guys, I don't know how it works for you. Maybe you work from home, or both of you work from home, or you come home together, whichever way. But when you come back physically, you must be interested in what happened. Because a lot of times, your spouse will not tell you stuff, not because they don't want to tell, but because they forgot. And there are tiny bits of conversations that, if avoided, can lead to big issues. I don't know if you have experienced that kind of thing. Say, you didn't tell me. Whereas your spouse was not intentionally trying to hide it. They just forgot because you guys did not gist. Right? So you have to be intentional. Say, what happened today? How was work? How about that thing you said yesterday? How about that person? Just gist. Just connect. During the day, find ways to connect. Hey, what's going on? How's it going with you? Hope chat. Like today, I'm trying to eat healthier. And then today I was struggling with, should I eat bread? Should I eat fruits? And my husband already yapped me. He said, I know you still eat this bread I bought. Let's see. So I sent me a message during like 12 or so. I'm like, I'm just here struggling not to eat this bread. Or anyway, I just ate pawpaw. And then we just laughed over it and everything. Simple. It don't take how many seconds. But you must look for... Somebody told me once that her and her spouse, they don't connect. When the husband goes to work, they don't talk till he comes back every day. Hello? You are killing your marriage slowly. You can't be doing that. So you must connect daily. The second one is you must support each other daily. Babe, what can I help you with? Can I help you with this? What do you need my help with? Or they've told you their dreams, or their goals, they are planning to write an exam. Are you reading today? Will you be able to read by 6? You should rest too. Don't stress yourself today so that you can read. Different ways. Push them. Give them what that encourages them. I know the season of your life is stressful, but don't worry. A lot of these things are in my book. So you must ensure that you are pushing your spouse closer to their dreams. It's not just to be there to be collecting, give me. What are you doing for your spouse? When you're not there, what would they miss? Right? So you must support them daily. The third thing is you must protect them daily. You must protect your spouse daily, right? Pray for each other, pray together, grow through conflict together. When you decide to hold on to offense, you are hurting yourself more than you can imagine. You have to bring yourself to that place where you are quick to forgive, quick to let go, because yesterday is gone. Today is a new day. You can't be dragging the load of yesterday, right? And then you should not go any day without praying for your spouse. Error. If you cannot pray together because of your schedule, pray for your spouse every day. Some people will say, are they praying for me? I pity you if you're still here asking that question in 2022. I pity you. And then the fourth way that you can be intentional in your marriage is to love your spouse daily. Okay? Show affection. Flirt with each other. Flirt with your spouse. Be naughty. Don't be too serious. Speak in your spouse's love language. And if you don't know it, that's an assignment for you. Speak your love language. Just find ways to... You know how when you were dating, like, it's just funny that people who date seem to be enjoying themselves more than those that are married. And it's painful. It's not meant to be. That's a reverse order. That's not how God designed it. Right? The fun and the enjoyment should be in marriage. Now, somebody will tell me, I beg all these things you have said, I've heard, there's a lot of work, is this. Why should I be doing this? I'm going to share with you a few things, a few reasons why you should be intentional with your marriage. Because people don't just land in counseling rooms. People don't just land in counseling rooms. These things build up gradually. And when you begin to see the signs and you've done all you know how to do and it's not working, that's the point where you run to seek help from a professional, because you don't just talk to anyone. Right? So why should you be intentional with your marriage? Here is the first point. A successful marriage is not just a result of the big things that you do in your marriage. A successful marriage is a result of the simple, small things that you do every day. Because some people are waiting like, oh, okay, it's when I'm able to buy my husband that PS5, you will know that I love him. Or it's when I'm able to buy one big iPhone 5 or iPhone 14. That's when they will know I love him. No. Haven't you seen rich people struggle in marriage? Why is their money not solving it? It's not really about the money. It's really about the heart, where you've placed them, where you've placed your spouse in your heart. Right? Remember the day I realized that my husband wasn't happy, I didn't acknowledge his efforts in getting us a comfortable home because he didn't want me uncomfortable. I wasn't intentional. See, a lot of women I've met, they come with, my husband did not do this, my husband did not do that. And I asked them, okay, who's paying the rent? They say, my husband. Who's providing money for food? They say, my husband. Who's paying school fees? They say, my husband. I'm like, can you be at least grateful? A lot of times, our desires makes us not to see the little things that our spouses are doing. The little things. You want to go back home and sit down and begin to list all the things that your spouse is doing and all the ones they are not doing. If you do that assignment well, you'll find out that your spouse is doing much more than you can think. But a lot of us are not grateful. We don't express gratitude. We see it as it's their work. They should be doing it now. Is that not what they signed up for? No. Because they could decide not to. Even when it's their responsibility, you ought to be grateful. You ought to be thankful. Right? So the first reason why you must be intentional with your marriage is because that healthy marriage that you want, that happily ever after, that 50 years wedding anniversary you're looking for, is not going to happen by chance. It's going to happen when you're committed, when you have a walk with God and you're allowing Him to direct you, allowing Him to lead you. When you know when you should shut up and when you should talk, when you know how to talk, when you know how to choose your battles, when you know when you should sacrifice and when you should say no. All of it. It's the little things that we do every day. Okay? The second thing is why you should be intentional with your marriage is waiting for your spouse to deserve your act of kindness before giving it is a disaster. A lot of people are in this category where they are waiting for their husbands to deserve it. I cannot do it, he does not deserve it. I cannot respect him. He does not deserve it. He does not love me. The moment you said I do, you have stamped that your husband deserves every act of kindness from you. The moment you said I do, you owe it to yourself and God to live up to that vow that you made. It's beyond your husband. It's beyond your wife. You owe it to yourself to live up to that I do that you said when your body was sweating you. You have to. So if you feel like your spouse does not deserve your act of kindness, does not deserve your commitment, then being committed and showing love and showing kindness is what would influence them to change so that they begin to deserve it. That's how it works. You cannot fight them or nag them or bring it out by force. You influence them. So if you are seeing that your marriage needs help and your spouse is not making the effort to kickstart the process, it's okay to start with you. It's okay to make the first move. And when you do, I guarantee you that you will find your own weaknesses first. Because God will begin to work with you. He'll begin to open your eyes, because that's what He did with me. And then those things that you're focusing on, saying my spouse does this, does that, you will not even say very well. Why? Because you're busy trying to work on yourself to get better. Do you see? The third thing is, why should you be intentional with your marriage? To avoiding becoming roommates, living as couples. It's a very useless place to be. Trust me. Because you'll be deceiving the world and fooling yourself. How? It's painful. You don't want to be there. You don't want to be in that kind of marriage whereby you're not enjoying. Marriage is beautiful, guys. It is sweet. There is a lot. Oh God. I can't even begin to explain, but there are lots of benefits. Marriage is beautiful. There is this level of joy and peace and excitement, fulfillment, satisfaction you get when you're doing marriage right. When your marriage is healthy. When your marriage is thriving. Imagine because of you, people are desiring a good marriage. Because they see yours and they admire what you guys have. Right? And then the fifth reason why you should be intentional with your marriage is because in the grand scheme of things, God has a need for your successful marriage as part of his plan to save the world. Like I said earlier, it's beyond you. It's not just about you. You have your children there. You have people watching you. You have your relatives. You cannot just decide to do your marriage anyhow. You cannot say any IB, you go rock up. No. Right? It cannot be any IB. God has a stake in your marriage. He has an investment in your marriage. You once prayed to him and said, God, give me a spouse, give me your son, give me your daughter. He has given you. What is his benefit inside it? Your marriage is part of God's agenda to save the world. Are you going to disappoint him, or are you going to live up to it? Are you going to make it a tool? Because whether you like it or not, people are watching you, people are learning from you, people are seeing your marriage and making a decision. People are looking at your marriage and they're saying, wow, this kind of marriage, I beg you, because of that, I'm not going to get married. Or people are saying, wow, I like the way Tola is doing her marriage. She's making marriage to hungry me. People are making either of those decisions. So is God going to be standing there being proud of you, or God going to be there saying, wow, this is my daughter, why? Because we easily get carried away, like, with all of the excitement about me. Put yourself aside for a bit and just think deeper. Okay, so I'm going to stop here because I don't want to make this too long, especially for those that are watching the replay. If you have any questions, please let me know in the chat. But I want to hear from you. Has this been helpful? Has this been beneficial? Did you learn anything? Did it make sense? Right? Can you see why you should see roommates marriage and run? Right? Was this helpful in any way for you? Are you going to go back home and sit down and start from this week to say, this week, what am I going to do for my marriage? Because a lot of times your spouse will not deserve it. And again, I said, I'm not talking about abuse. That one, you go and seek help. Right? What are you going to do? What steps are you going to take? I wrote a book, 52 Irresistible Ways to a Happier Marriage. If you've not gotten it, please go get it. It will benefit you. It's just telling you one thing a week. A lot of people are so busy with everything else. Going church activities, it's good. Work, it's good. Business, it's good. The children, but hey, all of these things are going to fade away. For as long as God gives you life, you're going to be alive till 90, 100, 120. But your children would have gone to their houses. You would have retired from work. That business, you might not have the energy to be doing. What you'll be left to it is you and your spouse. How will it be? This is why people struggled during the lockdown. A lot of marriages struggled during the lockdown because they did not have any connection. They were just going about life day to day. Right? And then they did not even know that they had issues. They did not know that they have issues. So thank you very much. If this was helpful for you, I'm going to post the replay. Drop a comment for me, let me know. And then share it with people that you think you need it. Share with your husband, share with your wife, share with your friends. Ultimately, once we can fix a lot of marriages and fix a lot of homes, our lives will be better for it. Our lives will be better for it. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for sticking through with this live session. I feel so fulfilled. I feel light. Because this was impromptu, right? I feel light that we did this and we did it together. Thank you so much, ladies. If you want to get the book, you can go to the link in my bio or just go to bit.ly /MrzSparkles52. That's bit.ly/ I think that's / MrzSparkles, MRZ Sparkles, and then 52. Or you can send me a message or go to the link in my bio. You can get it to help you. But beyond that, please, the little that we've discussed here today, sit down and ask yourself, what do I need to change? What do I need to do? If you want to bring in your spouse to watch it again with you, better. Okay, so thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in my next Instagram live. Bye, guys. Bye. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. I see your messages. Thank you. Thank you, Royal Mix. Thank you, Nimi. Thank you, Tolistical. Thank you, everyone. Bye.